I want to talk to you today about the lack of trust in authority. If you have been a member of or a subscriber on my channel, you remember that recently I have posted in the community tab a question where I asked which of the following factors was the primary reason that you have lost trust in authority, be it government, be it doctors, be it experts in any field. And I listed several options there. I said financial reasons, whether it be lobbyists or financial donations or things of that sort that try to move the decision making in one direction where the money is. The second was hidden agendas, things that happen under the table or behind the scenes that some, again, powerful figures may be pulling the strings and pursuing certain hidden agendas. The third reason was the extreme left. A lot of people worry that here in the United States, at least, because we have the powers at the present time lean toward the left, that this is going to take over the whole government and Marxist communist agenda will eventually be enforced. And then I also listed scientism, and by that I meant the bringing the science well beyond the scope of science, which is to test hypotheses and see if they are true and repeatable and confirmed or not, into becoming almost like a religion, like a cult, where people would be forced, in a sense, through education, through access to a certain position or whatnot, to subscribe to a certain worldview that is presented as the only alternative that's scientific, and if not, you are at a disadvantage, to say the least. And I wanted to thank the 448 of you who so far have taken time to vote on this list. And I also said if you have other reasons that you have lost your trust in authority, please list it. A lot of you have said all the above, but if you look at the whole list, whether it's financial, hidden agendas, extreme left or scientism, the number one by a good margin is the hidden agenda scenario. 45% of you thought that this was the reason why people have, or you have lost the trust, and most of you, 45, almost half. Next one, close enough, is financial conflicts, 31%, and then we have the extreme left, and then we have the scientism at 15 and 4% respectively. And I wanted to talk to you briefly today about this issue, because it's something that I keep encountering both here in this environment where we spend time and talk about things, COVID and health in general together. A great majority of comments that are coming in come from this territory, and I appreciate your comments. And the reason I'm having this discussion today is primarily to acknowledge this reality that an increasingly number of you have felt that your trust has been betrayed, whether by the government, whether by other experts in whatever field, and you feel that there is ulterior motives, oftentimes nefarious, as I call them in another video that's been pretty popular in this respect. And therefore, these figures of authority no longer deserve your respect. And again, I think you deserve to be heard. You deserve to feel like your concern is validated. And this is an important part of the discussion today. The other part, though, that I wanted to touch on and challenge you to think about and discuss in the comment section below, which will be the meat of today's video, is this the right approach? What shall we do about this lack of trust? And what are the consequences if this lack of trust keeps going on and expanding in the fashion that it has done in the last maybe 5-10 years, more so than before in my experience at least. And I want to present to you a couple of things. Number one, I want us all who live here in the United States and elsewhere to think about the fact that the United States as a country, as a system of government, is really a historical anomaly. What do I mean by that? If you look historically, whether you talk about dictatorship or dictatorships, ever since Julius Caesar declared himself a dictator in Rome, and even before, they had other names. They were tyrants, Greek. In Greek thinking, the tyrant was the boss, the guy in charge, right? All the way to modern times, in communist countries. I grew up in one, and we had a dictator for 25 years. You have a majority of government systems of government that rely on a heavy-handed approach, where a person or a group of persons, like in the case of military dictatorships and others, where they control the power, they control the money, and they dictate to everybody else how things should be done. And you really have very little to say. At the other extreme, there have been experiments with democracy, with allowing the people to participate in government in one way or another. But with the exception of the United States, again, I'm making the case here, and again, my historical knowledge is limited. You may be able to find something even better in the past, but the reality I think that we can all agree to is that, with the exception of the United States at least, we have not seen in human history a system of government where the people have been in charge in a true sense of the word. Communists, of course, came up with that promise, and they said, we're all equal, and the working class should be in charge, not the bourgeoisie, not the rich, not the owners of plants and factories. We are in charge. But it became pretty clear very soon that the we was an elite, and everybody else was below and was not at all in charge. Everywhere communism was implemented, this happened. And I think it's not necessarily, although I don't like communism at all, it's not necessarily a function of communism having a hidden agenda. It was more a function of human nature. By nature, we are not designed in our state, current state at least, we're not designed to work well together and to be altruistic and to allow the others to have as equal opportunity and power. And, we are competitive, we are selfish. And so you have to have a system of government that is different than a utopia where we think, we can all get together and be brothers and sisters and we'll be so happy together. All these things have failed miserably when they have been trying, and will continue to do so, because our nature, you know me, I'm a Christian, and in my understanding, and I think I see this, and at least you agree with me in principle, if we look at how humans work, behave, decisions we make, and how we deal with the others, we are not by definition altruistic, loving, exclusively altruistic, exclusively loving creatures. We are also very selfish. In fact, we are primarily a selfish creature. And so, again, utopias are not the answer. What the United States, when the founding fathers put the system of government together and debated and voted and put in effect the system that we enjoy to this day in this country, what they have done different, they have found a formula, they have found a way to design a system of government that takes into account this evil, selfish nature of humanity, to keep it in check, while at the same time allowing for the common person, the people, to hold civil office, public office, to escalate the ladder of government if they wanted to do so. But if they didn't want to go in that specifically, at least to enjoy a system where you have a balance of powers. You have the president that has power, but it's not dictatorship power. You have the Congress, you have two chambers of Congress, and they have to get together and work together. You have political parties that are represented in those chambers of Congress. And the laws and the way that the machine is designed to work is for them to compromise and to come and meet together in the middle. And I realize we live in an age of extreme partisanship, where these things are not happening, unfortunately, and everybody is locked in their position and they throw mud at the others, painting them as the devil, that they don't want to work with them. But that aside, and we'll come to that maybe in a moment, That aside, the system is designed for those things to be in balance. You have a police system, a judicial system that has power. You can end up in jail if you do something illegal or something terrible or a crime. But at the same time, those judges, this police system is not, it doesn't run, unchecked. You have a military again is not unchecked. They have checks and balances here. You have the free press also, and the free press itself functions as a way of checking all these other powers in the system of government. And I know a lot of you don't like what the press puts out there and all the nonsense and the lies and the fake news, right? And I don't like that either. But I tell you what, I grew up for 21 years in my life in a system where we had one official press run by the government, a couple of newspapers, national newspapers. All we saw all day long were praises to this wonderful leader, similar to what's happening in North Korea now. You felt nauseated when we opened the newspaper because you saw people worshiping this leader and fake telegrams from overseas congratulating them for fictitious achievements. And you had fictitious reports about how much better the agricultural production was this year compared to last year and the year before. Everything was on paper going up when we all knew it was going down. This is what happens when you don't have a free press. You may not like the other side of the press that it's opposed to your views. But I tell you what, I know it's necessary and I enjoy seeing it, even though I profoundly disagree with them. Because the simple reason for that is that they achieve this check and balance system. They participate in that. And if we don't have that, everything falls apart. And so what I'm trying to say here is the United States is, again, a historic anomaly that for the last couple of 300 years now going on, we have been able to maintain this system of checks and balances that has been successful so far, at least, in preventing any individual person or any individual interest group in taking over and eliminating the opposition. Now, we have come close to that. We may get even closer in the future. In fact, that partisanship that I mentioned earlier, where we are in a gridlock and people don't seem to be willing to cross the aisle and work together in politics at all, is one of the ingredients necessary for dictatorship to happen. This is how Julius Caesar came to power in Rome and declared himself a dictator, as you know, if you study history, and many other places. Dictators take advantage of a weak system, of a failing system, of an inefficient system that gets people frustrated. And the person that becomes the dictator comes from the outside. Usually it's an outsider, or it's from the military, like Julius was. And they say, look, this thing is falling apart. It's useless. We can't do anything with it. Here I am. I know what to do. Here's my promises, 1, 2, 3, 20, whatever. Let me come in. Let me get the power. And I'm going to fix everybody. And it's very appealing at first sight. But it's a disaster because you lose the system when you allow for that to happen. And the other thing I was going to say about this is that when we participate, when we allow ourselves to get into this mentality of, oh, everybody's corrupt, we can't trust anybody anymore. Look, they messed this up. They let themselves be bought by financial interests. There's this big pharma behind every medicine or vaccine, for that matter. There are all these lobbyists, right? And then, there's this new world order coming in and the mark of the beast and all these things. And so we decide to mistrust everybody. We want to get rid of them all. We would probably be better off with, if we are Christians, right-oriented Christians. I think a lot of us, at least inside, deep inside, maybe not verbally, we feel we would be better off if we had some form of Christian government that would implement Christian ideas and would eliminate all these other competing thoughts and orientations and political aspirations. And as a Christian who is, you know me by now, those who have been watching my videos, I have a video series on the mark of the beast. And by the way, I started a separate channel for that You can go and subscribe to that if you are interested in that, because I don't want to confuse YouTube. It seems like the health prevention and COVID issues is a topic a niche too narrow for Christianity and religious aspects and mark of the beast to be included in the same, and the algorithm gets confused. So I don't see anything nefarious there, by the way. I think it's just the way they are designed to work. So I decided to make a separate channel. I'll put a link in the comments when I finish here in a few minutes, so you can go and check that out and see if you want to subscribe. But anyway, I digress here. What I was trying to say is, as Christians, we sometimes feel tempted that it would be so much better if a Christian, Judeo-Christian system of government would be implemented in America. America is Christian according to some, right? So why not? My opinion on this is, as tempting as that may be, in our current state of fallen human beings who are selfish, who are competitive, it's going to be a disaster. If you look in history, whenever Christians got political power, it didn't turn out well. Look at what the Roman Catholic Church did and the Inquisition, just for an example. They got power and they abused it. Humans will abuse power no matter what religion we are belonging to. The only hope we have is this balanced system of government. Remember when Jesus was here on this earth and his disciples were poking and prodding and trying to have him say, so, when is your kingdom coming? When are we going to take over, in other words, And they were even jostling to see who's going to be first in this new kingdom, right? And second, and so forth. And what did Jesus kept telling them? And even when he was judged by Pilate, and he asked him, are you a king? What did he say? My kingdom is not from this world. Meaning, among other things, I have no interest as God, let alone Christians. I have absolutely no interest in setting up a system of government in this world with the tools and the methods that the world governs itself, that is. Because exactly what I told you, humans will abuse it. Things will fall apart very quickly. His kingdom is inside of us, is not in the White House, is not in the whatever system of government you have. We have to be changed from the inside as Christians, and that's when the kingdom of God comes to this earth. And of course, it will come with the second coming in the full sense of the word. But I'm talking about the here and now. So for these reasons, and we can continue this discussion in the future, and I appreciate your comments on it as always. For these reasons and others similar, I think it's a dangerous place to go, to immerse ourselves in this mentality of distrust of our system of government here. Please note I said our system of government, not individual players who may be happening to be today or yesterday or tomorrow in charge. We need to do everything we can, I think, to preserve this system of government, because it's the best we've had in the whole world, in the whole history of the world, as far as I can tell so far. So if we lose this, no matter who comes and takes over, it's going to be a big loss, a huge loss. And that's why one of the reasons I restrain myself, even though oftentimes I have reasons to rant and to criticize and to go against this and that and everything else. My MO is this system of government, when it comes to earthly matters and authority, I trust this system. Not who's in charge at any given time. I trust the system and I want to preserve it because it's the best we had. Is it okay to criticize? Of course, but there are constructive forms of criticism. And I think it's a rabbit hole or on an unproductive area also to go in this conspiracy areas where we suspect there is all these hidden players from behind. There may be. There have always been hidden agendas and players behind. But as long as we can preserve this system and prevent them from taking over, this is where I think we should focus our attention, not to try to fight them and engage in activism in those conspiracy dead ends, because a lot of them are dead ends. As a physician, I recognize a number of them that I'm 99.9% confident they are dead ends. Problem is, when you are not in a field, it's hard to determine what's a dead end and what's a real conspiracy. And so I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Anyways, I look forward to your comments. Thank you again for participating. And until next time, you stay healthy and you stay wise, my friend.